This section is going to be about adding effects, but it's important to ask the question, what kind of effect do you want to add to a track? And the answer to that will typically define where that effect is placed inside of the signal flow. For example, some effects change the level of a channel, whereas other effects add time-based or spatial style effects like reverb and delay and chorus and so forth. And some effects are mono and other ones are stereo, and that makes a big difference. Let's take a look at a track to start with. I'm going to go with this second bass track. You'll notice that one of them is defined to be clean, and another one is defined to add some distortion. That way I can balance the clean signal versus the distorted signal. And that distortion that I want to add is a level-based effect. So where does it go in the signal flow? The answer is that level effects go in the insert slots, either here in the inspector, on the inserts tab right here, or if you're in the channel settings window, they will go in the insert slots here. They're both the same representation of the same insert slots. There's just a couple of different ways to get to them. And what I want to do is just solo that track, so I'll click the S on the track here itself. That way, we're just going to hear the bass track itself. And then I'm going to go to the Inserts tab, and I'm going to add the effect that I want. It's a distortion effect. It's not one that comes with Cubase. Instead, it's a third-party plugin made by Native Instruments. So I'm going to go into the Other category, and I'm going to find Guitar Rig 6. That's going to reveal the control panel, and for you guitar players, you're going to get an idea of what this particular VST plugin sounds like. It's really a virtual guitar and bass amp designer, and there's one particular effect in here that I love, which is an approximation of John Entwistle, the bass player from The Who. One of his signature sounds is a distortion sound going through several different types of cabinets, and they're all approximated right here in Guitar Rig. And I already know it's called the Aux, so I'm going to type in Aux right here, which was John Entwistle's nickname. Then I'll scroll down here and I will find the Aux, and it will approximate all those different amplifiers and speakers and microphones that were typically used on a John Entwistle recording. And since I have that track soloed, let's go ahead and listen to what it sounds like before and after I added this processor as an insert slot. If I wanted to hear it before, I can hit the bypass effect button right here. And then after. So that really nice distortion, kind of gritty distortion that this particular effect adds is a level-based effect. It's going to affect all of the signal in its entirety. It's not going to have a separate wet and dry output like most spatial effects do. And since it's a level-based effect, it's going to be used on an insert slot. But you could add time-based effects or spatial effects as inserts, but that's problematic because let's think about if you had a 7-piece choir, you'd need to make 7 individual reverb processors if you wanted to put reverb on each one of them. The problem with that is that it's going to take more processing power for your computer to create 7 individual reverbs than it will to create one reverb that can be shared by all of those tracks. And the other problem with that is that if you want to edit the reverb, you'd have to edit 7 individual reverbs and do that all simultaneously, where when you have one spatial effect that is shared by multiple tracks and channels, then editing that one reverb will change the reverb for all of the tracks that's assigned to it. That's a send effect. So again, the concept here to think of is, does the effect that I want to use change the level, or does it add some sort of spatial effect? So insert slots are where you would put level-based effects, and send effects is where you would assign different effect processors that are time-based or spatially based and that can be shared among multiple tracks and channels. And with that in mind, I'll talk about insert effects next.